All right, thanks, Peter.
Oh yeah, you need this.
And one answer to the key question we see is Hooper. It is a Tonser-inspired app helping the young basketball player unlock their potential. So everything Peter just laid out for Tonser, we want to do that for basketball. At the very core of the Hooper experience is this data model. Remember, our goal in this R&D period was to see if we could capture data on youth basketball players to make them fully identifiable. In our work in doing this for soccer, we know that if we can collect each of these 4 types of data and put it together, only then is the player deemed fully identifiable. And so to explain each of these types of data quite briefly, at the very bottom tier, we have the box score stats. These are the raw quantitative stats that we get from partnering with the basketball federation or league that the player plays in. Beyond that, we have the community data. This is more qualitative. So we call it community data because we're activating the community around the player to gather information about the player. And how it works is after every single game, players will go through the vote for the MVPs of the game, the teammate of the game, and after a season of these inputs after every single game, we're able to get a very helpful qualitative view of the player's basketball ability that the quantitative box score stats alone doesn't quite provide. Beyond that, we have the video footage, which of course provides full context on the player's basketball ability. And finally, the physical attributes. As we know in basketball, things like your height or your vertical leap or your wingspan really matters, so we want to make sure to collect that. And what's pretty exciting now is the AR technologies available in smartphones is getting very good at measuring and verifying things like your physical attributes. And so again, we want to collect all of that type of data, put that together to make a player identifiable. And we weren't sure if we actually could do this at scale. But we got testing with the Danish Basketball Federation. We actually were able to collect each of those 4 types of data. And when we put it together, we actually have a model now that auto-combines all of these types of data, puts it into a player profile to make the player fully identifiable. And so when you have all this data on a player, you can do a number of things with it. And one thing that we did was we computed player ratings for each of these players within a specific team in the Danish Basketball Federation. So kind of like a 2K rating, but for each of these youth players. And then we checked these ratings with the head of the Danish Basketball Federation, and he mentioned that they were quite accurate. And so this gave us a lot of confidence, because early on, we really weren't sure if we could collect this data at scale to effectively map out the player. But in testing with the Danish Basketball Federation, we have a little bit more confidence that we actually can do this. And so we have this model, and the question now is, how do we make this model engaging for youth basketball players? How do we productize it? And so that's where Hooper comes in. I heard that Tom came up with the name Hooper earlier. I just got to give Tom a big shout out for that. Fantastic name for a mobile basketball app. And so Hooper helps players progress and unlock their potential as basketball players. Among many things, it helps players track their own performances. It helps them get exposure and find opportunities. It's kind of like a LinkedIn for basketball players, as Peter mentioned earlier. And so I'm about to show you guys a video demo of what the app looks like. Just an important nuance before that is, prior to the user joining the app, we will have partnered with that player's basketball league or basketball federation to gather all of the box score, all of the game schedule, all of the game results. So that's all preloaded into the app before the user even joins. And here's why that's important. So the first thing the user does when they open up the app and they sign up is they match up with the team that they're playing with. Given we already have the data already preloaded in, we can instantly match them up. And in this way, we have their box score stats covered. And so when they enter in, they already see their actual season stats, their game log of games they previously played. It's all loaded in. Any other information, it's all there. We really want to make the youth player feel like they're an NBA player with what we're providing. I mentioned physical attributes earlier. We can use the app to help verify certain physical attributes, like your height or your standing vertical leap, which we'll have a look at. And how it would work in the app is players would jump up, the AR would do its magic, and track the vertical leap to help verify that. And if you want, you can share it on social, but we'll hit continue. And as you can see here now, that person's vertical leap is Hooper verified. I also mentioned community data. And so after every single game, players will go through this type of process where they vote for the MVPs of the game, for the defensive player of the game. And we'd combine the box score stats with these votes to give them a player rating. And then they're going to see their post-game view, where after every single game, they can see their stats, any votes they got, any particular feedback from their coach. But maybe what's most exciting is giving the player their instant highlights of themselves after the game. So not their game footage, but their actual instant highlights. And we're working with some video partners that may be able to enable this. And so these are just a couple of the features. We don't have time to show all of them, but if you want to see some more, be over the booth over there, and feel free to say hello. The last thing I wanted to mention was I spent from 5 to 18, I was in China, and I really wanted to play in the US and play basketball. It was really hard. And so this would have made my life so much easier, and it's been really fun to get to work on something that I know can actually make an impact for a lot of folks. So I've been really grateful for this opportunity. I'm going to kick it back to Peter now to bring us home.
Thanks, Malachi. And so coming back to the question of can it be replicated, can we actually take the decent success we've had in soccer and translate it to basketball product? We have garnered pretty significant understanding of how to build it as a consumer product in terms of the product and also the data knowledge of what it takes to actually identify players. We believe we can take that into a new product. And then also growing several markets, knowing what it takes to do that growth, and also the go-to-market plan. But probably most importantly, we understand what drives players to show up to matches and practice week after week. We have now some pretty significant data around that. But over these 10 years, the question that we have received the most is probably this: will you replicate this into other sports? And to be honest, I've been very skeptical around that. Tom and I, we've had conversation about it for, did we agree on 6 or 7 years that we've had this and could see the potential in it. But personally, I have been unsure, could you actually translate this? Probably also because of my gap of knowledge up until we started the Launchpad process earlier this year. But the conclusion is right now, with where we are today with data collection in basketball compared to football, you have fewer players on the pitch, you have an indoor arena, you have much more advanced technologies right now helping you with capturing the things in this data model that we showed, that I have actually gone from being quite skeptical around it to having a clear understanding of both how we do it and actually believing that the Tonsa model is actually more suited for basketball than it initially was for football. So very positive results after going through the last 5 months. So we see our audience being a mass market. The Hooper app is for everyone, starting from 13 and up. But we also believe that having the top players on there can be a really important indicator and magnet for all players to get on there. So we both want to have the top aspirational players and also the mass of users using the app. We have a pretty ambitious plan that we want to hit 2 million users in the next couple of years. And here are the markets that we expect to initially focus on in Asia, Australia, and the US. There's, for me, a ton of value between NBA and Hooper when you talk about value proposition. But if you break it down into 4, almost looking at it as a funnel, we really believe that we can grow together football basket markets and also engage the Gen Z audience, both as consumers, as players, and as fans. We can map out players, which is the whole point of it, making players identifiable, and then ultimately, hopefully, also identify future stars as we have done in football, both doing that in Asia, which is the purpose, but everywhere actually. So we've gone from being quite skeptical, to be honest, to strongly believe that Tonsa or Hooper, just like Tonsa, can be a basketball game changer. In these 2 categories, the source of collecting data and making players identifiable, and as a product powering players to unlock the potential. We are in a booth over here, so please, if you're passionate about the next generation of basketball, please come chat to us. We'll be here. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.